Good evening, and tonight we travel back nearly 2,000 years to meet one of history's most remarkable rulers, a man remembered not merely for the empire he governed, but for the quiet wisdom he carried within himself. While countless emperors sought glory through conquest or extravagant displays of wealth, this emperor searched for something far more elusive. He searched for mastery over his own mind. His name was Marcus Aurelius. Before we begin, remember that history often blends documented fact with interpretations left by ancient writers. This story follows the best historical evidence available while embracing the gentle rhythm of storytelling designed to help you relax. Now dim the lights, settle into a comfortable position, and allow yourself to drift back through the centuries. Long before Marcus Aurelius became emperor, before philosophers quoted his writings or historians called him one of Rome's greatest rulers, he was simply a quiet child born into privilege in the bustling city of Rome. The year was AD 121. Rome stood at the height of its power. Its roads stretched farther than any empire had imagined possible. Merchant ships crossed the Mediterranean carrying grain from Egypt, olive oil from Hispania, silk from distant China, spices from India, marble from Greece, and countless goods from every corner of the known world. Nearly 60 million people lived under Roman rule, speaking different languages, worshiping different gods, yet connected by Roman law and Roman roads. From above, the eternal city shimmered beneath the Italian sun. Monumental temples towered beside crowded markets. Senators wrapped in bright white togas debated beneath marble columns, while soldiers marched through stone-paved streets polished smooth by generations of footsteps. It was into this magnificent world that Marcus Annius Verus was born. His family belonged to Rome's ancient aristocracy. They were wealthy, respected, and deeply connected to imperial politics. His grandfather, who shared his name, had served as consul 3 separate times, an extraordinary achievement that marked the family as one of the empire's most influential. Yet wealth offered no protection against sorrow. Marcus was only around 3 years old when his father died unexpectedly. The details remain uncertain. Ancient historians simply record the loss before moving quickly to later events. But for a young child, such a loss undoubtedly shaped the years ahead. His mother, Domitia Lucilla, became the central figure in his upbringing. She herself came from an exceptionally wealthy family whose fortune rested partly upon brickworks supplying materials for Rome's endless construction projects. Every temple, bathhouse, villa, and apartment block required mountains of bricks, and the family's business quietly helped build the capital itself. Despite immense wealth, Marcus later remembered his mother less for luxury than for modesty. He admired her seriousness, her dignity, her generosity. Perhaps those quiet lessons became the earliest seeds of the philosophy he would later embrace. Unlike many children of noble families who were surrounded by indulgence, Marcus displayed unusual restraint almost from the beginning. Ancient biographies tell us he disliked unnecessary luxury. Even as a boy, he seemed strangely drawn toward simplicity. While other aristocratic children delighted in expensive clothing, lavish banquets, or elaborate entertainments, Marcus preferred reading, studying, and thoughtful conversation. Those around him noticed. One emperor noticed more than anyone. His name was Hadrian. Hadrian ruled Rome during one of its most prosperous periods. Unlike emperors who rarely left Italy, Hadrian spent years traveling across the empire, inspecting distant provinces from Britain to Egypt. He admired Greek philosophy, commissioned magnificent architecture, and believed capable successors should be chosen carefully rather than simply inherited by birth. When Hadrian encountered young Marcus, he saw unusual promise. According to later tradition, Hadrian affectionately nicknamed the boy Vericimus, meaning most truthful. Whether every detail of the story is perfectly accurate matters less than what it reveals about Marcus's reputation. Even as a child, honesty had become his defining quality. Imagine Rome through young Marcus's eyes. Each morning, servants opened the shutters as golden sunlight spilled into elegant courtyards surrounded by painted walls and flowering gardens. Tutors arrived carrying scrolls written in both Latin and Greek. Lessons filled the day. Grammar, history, poetry, rhetoric, law, philosophy. Education among Rome's elite was demanding, preparing boys not only to govern estates but perhaps one day to govern provinces, or even the empire itself. Marcus excelled. Yet one subject captured him more deeply than all the others: philosophy, especially the philosophy known as Stoicism. The Stoics believed that happiness did not depend upon wealth, fame, or power. Instead, true peace came from living according to reason, accepting what could not be changed, and mastering one's own thoughts instead of allowing emotions to rule the mind. To a thoughtful young boy who had already experienced personal loss, these ideas must have carried profound comfort. Life would always bring hardship. People would die. Fortunes would change. Empires themselves would eventually fade. But one's character, that remained within one's control. Marcus embraced these teachings with remarkable enthusiasm. Ancient sources describe him dressing in the coarse cloak worn by philosophers rather than luxurious garments expected of Roman aristocrats. His teachers reportedly had to persuade him not to sleep directly upon the hard floor like some philosophers preferred. Even in youth, moderation appealed to him more than comfort. His family occasionally worried he was becoming too serious. Perhaps they wished he would laugh more, enjoy life more, be more like other boys. But Marcus possessed an inwardness unusual for his age. He constantly examined his own thoughts. He questioned his motives. He sought improvement rather than admiration. These habits would eventually produce one of history's most famous philosophical works. But that lay decades ahead. Meanwhile, events at the highest level of Roman politics quietly gathered around him. Emperor Hadrian grew older. His health deteriorated. The question of succession became increasingly urgent. Rome had recently benefited from what historians later called the era of the 5 good emperors, a remarkable period during which capable rulers frequently adopted talented successors rather than relying solely upon biological sons. Hadrian continued this tradition. He first adopted Lucius Aelius Caesar as heir. But fate intervened. Lucius died unexpectedly before assuming the throne. Once again, Hadrian searched for a successor. This time he selected Antoninus Pius, an experienced senator known for wisdom, patience, and integrity. Yet the adoption came with conditions. Antoninus must himself adopt 2 young boys. One was Marcus Aurelius. The other was Lucius Verus. In an instant, Marcus's future transformed. He was no longer merely an aristocratic child. He had become heir to the greatest empire on earth. Imagine the weight of such knowledge settling upon a boy barely entering adolescence. The expectations, the responsibilities, the realization that every lesson, every decision, every word spoken might someday influence millions of lives. Many children might have become proud. Others might have become frightened. Marcus became determined. He devoted himself even more completely to study. Antoninus Pius soon proved an ideal adoptive father. Gentle by temperament, cautious in judgment, and deeply respected by the Senate, Antoninus ruled peacefully for more than 2 decades. He rarely sought dramatic reforms. He preferred stability, order, and justice. Marcus watched everything. He observed how Antoninus treated advisors with patience, how he avoided unnecessary cruelty, how he remained calm during disputes. Years later, Marcus would write lovingly about Antoninus in his private reflections, praising his kindness, humility, fairness, and remarkable self-control. These observations became a living education impossible to learn from books alone. While Rome celebrated military victories and public spectacles, Marcus quietly studied the more difficult art of governing oneself. Every morning offered opportunities to practice patience. Every disagreement became a lesson in restraint. Every disappointment became an exercise in acceptance. He trained his mind long before he would command armies. Yet despite years of peaceful preparation, destiny rarely unfolds according to careful plans. Far beyond Rome's elegant villas and marble forums, distant frontiers stirred with growing unrest. Tribes gathered beyond the Danube. A power shifted in the east. Invisible diseases traveled along the empire's trade routes. The peaceful world Marcus inherited would soon face trials unlike any Rome had experienced for generations. And when those storms finally arrived, the quiet philosopher would discover whether wisdom learned in classrooms could survive the harsh realities of war, plague, political intrigue, and unimaginable responsibility. That moment was drawing ever closer. The years passed quietly, almost gently, as Marcus Aurelius matured beneath the steady guidance of Antoninus Pius. Rome, at least on the surface, appeared to enjoy a golden age. The frontiers were largely secure, commerce flourished, and the empire's cities buzzed with life. Aqueducts carried fresh water across valleys, merchants filled bustling marketplaces, and grand temples echoed with prayers offered to countless gods. To many Romans, it must have seemed that this remarkable prosperity would continue forever. Yet history has a way of reminding every generation that even the strongest civilizations remain vulnerable to change. Marcus understood this perhaps better than most. As he grew into adulthood, he immersed himself ever more deeply in philosophy. Unlike many future rulers who studied merely because education was expected, Marcus sought wisdom with genuine hunger. He surrounded himself with teachers whose influence would remain with him for the rest of his life. Among them was Junius Rusticus, perhaps the most important mentor Marcus would ever know. Rusticus introduced him more fully to Stoicism, not simply as a philosophy to discuss, but as a way to live every ordinary day. The Stoics believed that human beings suffer most when they demand that life unfold according to their wishes. Instead, they encouraged accepting reality exactly as it appears, meeting hardship with dignity, and recognizing that the only thing truly under one's control is one's own character. These ideas became the foundation upon which Marcus built his life. He learned to question his anger before expressing it, to pause before making judgments, to remember that every person acts according to what they believe is right, even when mistaken, to accept praise without vanity and criticism without resentment. These were not easy lessons. They required constant practice. Even future emperors struggled with impatience, disappointment, and self-doubt. Marcus never imagined himself above such emotions. Instead, he worked endlessly to master them. Around this same period, another important chapter of his life began. Marcus married Faustina the Younger, the daughter of Antoninus Pius. Ancient historians paint remarkably different portraits of Faustina. Some praised her generosity and loyalty. Others accused her of affairs and scandal, though many modern historians suspect these stories were little more than political gossip, common in Roman histories whenever powerful women entered the spotlight. The truth has largely disappeared into history. What remains certain is that Marcus loved his family deeply. Together, Marcus and Faustina would have at least 13 children, though not all survived infancy or childhood. Such loss was tragically common in the ancient world. Modern medicine did not exist. Even wealthy families watched helplessly as fever, infection, or illness claimed young lives. Marcus experienced this grief repeatedly. Several of his children died before reaching adulthood. Each funeral became another painful reminder of Stoic teaching. Everything we cherish, philosophy reminded him, is only borrowed for a time. Love fully, but never forget that nothing earthly lasts forever. These thoughts may seem melancholy today, yet for Marcus they were strangely comforting. They encouraged gratitude instead of despair, to appreciate each moment precisely because it would not last. While Marcus continued his philosophical education, Antoninus Pius quietly governed one of history's greatest empires with remarkable stability. For 23 years, he maintained peace. He rarely traveled. He avoided unnecessary wars. He carefully managed Rome's finances. His calm administration allowed Marcus decades to prepare for responsibilities that many rulers inherit overnight. Perhaps no emperor before or after enjoyed such a long apprenticeship. Then, in the spring of AD 161, everything changed. Antoninus Pius died peacefully at the age of 74. There was no violent coup, no assassination, no civil war. His final reported words to those around him were astonishingly simple. He merely instructed that the imperial watchword be changed to equanimity. Then he turned over in bed and died. Marcus Aurelius became emperor. Yet almost immediately, he made a decision few had expected. Rather than rule alone, Marcus insisted that his adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, share imperial power equally. It was an unprecedented arrangement. Rome had known co-rulers before in limited ways, but never quite like this. Marcus possessed greater prestige and authority, yet he deliberately elevated Lucius beside him. Perhaps he believed that power should be shared. Perhaps he wished to honor Hadrian's original plan. Or perhaps Marcus simply understood that governing an empire stretching across 3 continents required more than one man's attention. Whatever his reasoning, Rome now had 2 emperors. The peaceful years ended almost at once. Hardly had Marcus settled into his new responsibilities before alarming news arrived from the eastern frontier. The mighty Parthian Empire, Rome's longtime rival beyond the Euphrates River, had invaded Armenia. Roman forces suffered unexpected defeats. Entire legions were pushed back. Provincial governors urgently requested reinforcements. Marcus faced his first major decision as emperor. Rather than command personally, he sent Lucius Verus east to oversee the campaign while experienced generals handled military operations. Lucius himself lacked Marcus's philosophical seriousness. Ancient writers describe him enjoying lavish banquets, theatrical performances, hunting expeditions, and luxurious living. Yet beneath him served highly capable commanders. Over several years, Roman armies gradually reversed their fortunes. They retook Armenia, advanced into Mesopotamia, eventually captured the magnificent Parthian capital of Ctesiphon. Rome celebrated another great victory. But triumph carried an invisible passenger. As victorious soldiers marched home across the empire, they unknowingly brought with them a devastating disease. Its exact identity remains uncertain. Some historians believe it was smallpox. Others suggest measles. Whatever its true nature, the illness spread with terrifying speed. Today it is known as the Antonine Plague. Village after village fell silent. Cities overflowed with the sick. Families buried loved ones almost daily. Ancient physician Galen witnessed the epidemic firsthand and described high fevers, violent coughing, skin eruptions, and countless deaths. The plague did not distinguish between rich and poor, slave and senator, merchant and soldier. Even the imperial palace could not escape its reach. Throughout the empire, fear became a constant companion. Imagine Rome itself. Usually crowded streets suddenly growing quieter. Market stalls standing half empty. Smoke rising endlessly from funeral pyres. The sound of mourning echoing through neighborhoods once filled with laughter. Modern historians estimate that millions may have died over the course of the epidemic. Some regions lost a significant portion of their population. Labor became scarce. Tax revenues declined. Entire military units weakened. The empire Marcus had inherited during peace now struggled simply to endure. Marcus refused to abandon his responsibilities. He remained in Rome, organizing relief efforts, ensuring grain supplies continued, and attempting to preserve stability during extraordinary hardship. Ancient sources praise his generosity. He reportedly sold imperial treasures, jewelry, furniture, and precious decorations from the palace to help finance government expenses. Luxury meant little to him. People mattered more. Yet while disease ravaged the interior of the empire, another crisis emerged beyond the northern frontier. For centuries, Rome had maintained uneasy peace with numerous Germanic tribes living beyond the Danube River. Now that balance collapsed. Entire populations began moving southward. Some fled pressure from even more distant peoples whose names history barely remembers. Others sought fertile land inside Roman territory. Some came peacefully. Others arrived armed. Among them were the Marcomanni, Quadi, Vandals, and numerous neighboring tribes. What began as scattered raids soon developed into one of the greatest military emergencies Rome had faced in generations. For the first time in centuries, hostile forces crossed deep into Roman territory. Some even reached northern Italy itself. Roman citizens who had long believed the heartland untouchable suddenly realized that war stood frighteningly close. Marcus made a decision that surprised many observers. The philosopher would become a soldier. Leaving the comfort of Rome, he traveled north toward the Danube frontier. There he would spend much of the next decade living among military camps instead of marble palaces. The contrast could hardly have been greater. Gone were elegant villas. Gone were comfortable Senate debates. Instead came muddy roads, cold winters, temporary wooden forts, the endless routines of military life. Marcus, now in his 40s, shared these hardships alongside his soldiers. He reviewed defenses, met commanders, inspected camps, listened to reports, planned campaigns. Despite lacking the military glamour of emperors like Julius Caesar or Trajan, Marcus gradually earned the respect of the legions. Not because he dazzled them with fiery speeches, not because he sought personal glory, but because he endured the same cold. The same uncertainty. The same exhausting marches. Leadership, Marcus believed, required presence. One evening, after another long day overseeing military operations, Marcus likely returned to his modest quarters inside a frontier camp. Outside, soldiers repaired armor, sharpened weapons, and gathered around campfires beneath the stars. Beyond the walls stretched dark forests inhabited by tribes Rome barely understood. The empire's future seemed uncertain. Somewhere amid these difficult years, Marcus began writing private notes to himself. He never intended anyone else to read them. They were reminders, exercises, conversations with his own conscience. Simple observations recorded in Greek. Very little is needed to make a happy life. You have power over your mind, not outside events. The impediment to action advances action. What we know today as meditations was never written as a book. It was a personal journal. A quiet companion helping one tired emperor remain faithful to the ideals he had embraced since childhood. These reflections reveal something extraordinary. Marcus did not write because he had achieved perfect wisdom. He wrote because maintaining wisdom required daily effort. Again and again, he reminded himself to remain patient, to avoid anger, to forgive, to accept whatever fate delivered. Reading these pages today feels almost like overhearing someone's private thoughts whispered across 2,000 years. Yet fate still had more trials waiting. In AD 169, Lucius Verus died unexpectedly, probably after suffering a stroke while returning from military operations. Marcus now ruled alone. The burden that had once been shared rested entirely upon his shoulders. He mourned his brother sincerely despite their differences. Even grief, Marcus believed, deserved honesty. Soon afterward, another heartbreaking loss struck even closer to home. His beloved wife, Faustina, died while accompanying him during the northern campaigns. Whether illness or accident claimed her remains uncertain. Marcus was devastated. He honored her publicly, founded charitable institutions in her memory, and continued carrying responsibilities that left little room for private sorrow. Imagine standing upon the windswept frontier. Behind you lies an empire weakened by plague. Ahead waits an uncertain enemy. Friends have died. Children have been buried. Your wife is gone. Your co-emperor has passed away. Yet tomorrow morning, thousands of soldiers still expect leadership. Millions of citizens still depend upon your decisions. Such was the life of Marcus Aurelius. The philosopher who had spent decades preparing his mind would now face the greatest tests of his character. The long wars along the Danube were far from over. Even darker challenges were approaching. And before they ended, Marcus Aurelius would write the words that would outlive the Roman Empire itself. The northern frontier stretched endlessly before Marcus Aurelius. Dense forests covered the horizon. Rivers carved their way through rugged landscapes. Beyond the Danube lay territories that Roman maps only partially understood, inhabited by tribes whose customs, languages, and loyalties constantly shifted. For years now, Marcus had lived far from the marble splendor of Rome. The emperor who once studied philosophy in quiet courtyards now spent his days reviewing troop movements, inspecting fortifications, and responding to crises that seemed never-ending. The Marcomannic Wars had become the defining struggle of his reign. What initially appeared to be a series of frontier disturbances evolved into a prolonged conflict that consumed enormous resources and tested Rome's resilience. The empire was exhausted. The plague had weakened populations and drained manpower. Tax revenues had declined. Entire communities struggled to recover from years of disease and uncertainty. Yet the threats beyond the frontier remained. Marcus faced a difficult reality. To protect the empire, he needed soldiers. But many of Rome's traditional recruiting grounds had already suffered greatly from plague. As a result, extraordinary measures became necessary. Gladiators were recruited into military service. Slaves were purchased and trained as soldiers. Additional forces were raised wherever possible. Some senators likely viewed these actions with concern, perhaps even alarm. Yet Marcus cared less about tradition than necessity. The empire's survival demanded practical solutions. As campaigns continued, Marcus spent long stretches living in military camps. Imagine one such evening. The sun disappears behind distant hills. A cold wind moves through rows of leather tents. Campfires flicker across the darkness. Soldiers share simple meals while discussing rumors, victories, fears, and hopes. Some think of families waiting far away. Others wonder whether they will survive the next campaign season. And somewhere within the camp sits the emperor himself, not surrounded by luxury, not resting in a magnificent palace. Instead, seated beneath lamplight, writing quietly in a notebook. These writings would eventually become known as meditations. Few books in history possess such unusual origins. Most famous works are written for readers. Authors hope to persuade, entertain, educate, or inspire. Marcus wrote for none of those reasons. He wrote entirely for himself. The pages reveal no attempt at literary brilliance, no effort to impress future generations, no expectation that anyone would ever read them. Instead, the work resembles an ongoing conversation between Marcus and his own mind. Again and again, he reminds himself of lessons he fears forgetting. When frustrated by difficult people, he writes reminders about patience. When overwhelmed by responsibility, he reflects upon nature and acceptance. When facing uncertainty, he returns to Stoic principles. Reading these words today feels surprisingly intimate. We encounter not an emperor issuing commands, but a human being wrestling with the same questions people still ask thousands of years later. How should we respond to suffering? How do we remain calm during uncertainty? How can we live well when so much remains beyond our control? Marcus never claimed to possess perfect answers. He simply continued searching. One of his most famous reflections begins with a remarkably practical observation. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. At first glance, the statement seems pessimistic. Yet Marcus continues by reminding himself that such people act from ignorance rather than malice. Because they do not fully understand good and evil, they behave poorly. Therefore, anger accomplishes little. Patience becomes the wiser response. This idea appears repeatedly throughout his writings. People will disappoint us. Circumstances will frustrate us. Life will refuse to follow our plans. The challenge lies not in controlling these events, but in controlling our reactions. Such lessons were hardly theoretical. Marcus faced constant disappointments. Military victories were often temporary. Political disputes never completely disappeared. Natural disasters struck without warning. Disease continued claiming lives. Even success carried uncertainty. In one campaign, Roman forces pushed deep into enemy territory, winning important victories against the Marcomanni and Quadi tribes. Some historians believe Marcus even considered creating new Roman provinces north of the Danube. The dream of expanding Roman civilization farther into Central Europe seemed briefly possible. Then new complications emerged. They always did. Tribal alliances shifted. Fresh conflicts appeared. Resources grew strained. The frontier remained unstable. Throughout these years, Marcus continued balancing philosophy with leadership. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of his reign was not military success. It was his refusal to allow power to corrupt him. History offers countless examples of rulers transformed by authority. Many begin with noble intentions only to become paranoid, cruel, or self-indulgent. Rome itself had suffered under emperors whose names became synonymous with excess and tyranny. Caligula, Nero, Domitian. Each demonstrated how absolute power could distort character. Marcus remained different. Ancient historians repeatedly comment upon his humility. He listened to advisors, respected the Senate, accepted criticism more readily than most rulers. He understood something many leaders forget. Power does not make a person virtuous. It merely reveals what already exists. This perspective appears throughout Meditations. Marcus constantly reminds himself that fame is fleeting. A status is temporary. Wealth vanishes. Even emperors eventually die and are forgotten. Why then become obsessed with public approval? Why sacrifice integrity for applause? One passage reflects this beautifully. Marcus observes that countless once famous individuals have already disappeared into history. Their admirers are gone. Their critics are gone. Their accomplishments, once celebrated, have faded into obscurity. The same fate awaits everyone. Therefore, he argues, the only thing truly worth pursuing is virtue. Not reputation, not popularity, not power, virtue. Such thoughts may sound unusual coming from the most powerful man in the known world. Yet perhaps that is precisely why they resonate so strongly today. Marcus understood from experience that external success rarely provides lasting satisfaction. Only character remains. Meanwhile, life continued delivering painful reminders of mortality. Several more of Marcus's children died during these years. The exact number remains uncertain because ancient records are incomplete. What is clear is that Marcus endured repeated personal losses. By the standards of modern life, the grief seems almost unimaginable. Yet he never became cold or detached. Stoicism did not teach emotional numbness. Contrary to popular misconception, Stoics were not expected to suppress all feeling. They loved deeply. They mourned sincerely. They simply sought to avoid becoming controlled by emotions. Marcus allowed himself grief while continuing his duties. It was a difficult balance, one he practiced repeatedly. As the 170s progressed, the empire slowly stabilized. Military campaigns achieved greater success. The worst waves of plague appeared to lessen in some regions. Frontier defenses improved. For the first time in years, there were reasons for cautious optimism. Then another challenge emerged, not from foreign enemies, but from within the empire itself. In AD 175, a startling rumor spread across the Roman world. Marcus Aurelius was dead. The report was false. Yet before the truth could travel across the vast empire, an ambitious general named Avidius Cassius acted upon the news. Cassius was no ordinary commander. He was one of Rome's most successful military leaders. Respected by his troops and influential in the eastern provinces, he declared himself emperor. Civil war suddenly seemed possible. For any Roman ruler, such a rebellion represented a nightmare scenario. The empire had suffered numerous civil conflicts in previous centuries. Each left lasting scars. Marcus now faced the prospect of fighting fellow Romans rather than foreign enemies. His response reveals much about his character. Rather than reacting with rage, Marcus reportedly expressed a desire to avoid bloodshed if possible. He even spoke of granting clemency should Cassius surrender. Perhaps he hoped reconciliation could prevent unnecessary suffering. As events unfolded, however, such decisions became unnecessary. Before Marcus reached the east, Cassius was assassinated by one of his own officers. The rebellion collapsed almost immediately. The crisis ended. Yet Marcus's reaction afterward remained notable. He refused large-scale revenge. Many expected executions, purges, confiscations. Instead, Marcus pursued relative restraint. The philosopher emperor once again chose mercy where others might have chosen vengeance. It would not be the last time. As the decade neared its end, Marcus increasingly turned his attention toward the future. One question overshadowed all others. Who would succeed him? Unlike several earlier emperors who adopted capable heirs, Marcus had a surviving biological son. His name was Commodus. Born in AD 161, Commodus had grown up amid imperial privilege. Marcus appears to have loved him deeply. Yet some historians have long debated whether Commodus possessed the qualities necessary for effective leadership. The contrast between father and son would later become one of history's most famous examples of dramatically different rulers. But for now, Marcus still hoped to prepare him, to teach him, to guide him, just as Antoninus Pius had guided Marcus decades earlier. Whether those hopes would succeed remained uncertain. The empire stood at a crossroads. Years of war had not broken Rome. A plague had not destroyed it. Rebellion had failed. Yet Marcus himself was growing older. Decades of responsibility had taken their toll. The philosopher emperor had spent much of his reign confronting crises few rulers would envy. Still, he continued moving forward. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One reflection at a time. Beyond the frontier, new campaigns awaited. And somewhere ahead, unseen but inevitable, waited the final chapter of Marcus Aurelius's life. The chapter that would transform him from a ruler of Rome into a voice that would echo across centuries. The forests beyond the Danube stood silent beneath frost. Rivers moved sluggishly through the cold landscape, and military camps scattered across the frontier glowed faintly beneath countless campfires. Soldiers wrapped themselves in heavy wool cloaks as icy winds swept through the tents. Marcus Aurelius was nearly 59 years old. By Roman standards, he had already lived a long and demanding life. For almost 2 decades, he had carried burdens that few rulers could have imagined. He had governed an empire struck by one of history's deadliest pandemics. He had endured relentless wars along the northern frontier. He had buried children, mourned his wife, survived political rebellion, and spent years living far from the comforts of Rome. Yet he continued his work. Every morning brought another report to read, another military decision to make, another dispute to settle, another reminder that leadership rarely offered moments of true rest. Unlike many emperors who dreamed of retiring to luxurious villas, Marcus seemed to accept that duty itself had become his home. His philosophy had prepared him for this. Again and again in his private writings, he reminded himself that every human being is born to perform a particular role within the greater order of nature. Just as bees contribute to the hive, just as rivers flow toward the sea, just as seasons follow one another without complaint, human beings also possess responsibilities. To Marcus, serving the common good was not simply the duty of an emperor. It was the duty of every person. No matter how difficult, no matter how exhausting, no matter how uncertain the outcome. These beliefs gave him remarkable endurance. He never imagined that life owed him comfort. Instead, he asked only one question: am I doing what reason and virtue require of me today? If the answer was yes, then whatever followed could be accepted. By the winter of AD 180, however, Marcus's health began to decline. Ancient historians disagree about the exact illness. Some suggest he contracted another wave of the plague that had haunted his reign. Others describe a lingering fever or chronic illness worsened by years of hardship and military campaigning. Whatever the cause, it soon became clear that the emperor's strength was fading. His headquarters stood at Vindibona, near the site of modern Vienna, or perhaps at nearby Sirmium according to other ancient accounts. Historians continue to debate the exact location of his final days. What remains beyond dispute is that Marcus spent his last moments not in the grandeur of Rome, but among the soldiers with whom he had shared so much of his reign. There is something deeply symbolic about that. He did not die surrounded by the marble palaces of the capital. He died on the frontier, still serving, still watching over the empire, still carrying out the responsibilities he believed fate had entrusted to him. As news spread through the camp that the emperor had fallen gravely ill, officers, officials, and members of his household gathered nearby. Among them stood his son, Commodus. Marcus had already elevated Commodus as co-emperor several years earlier. Now the future of Rome rested increasingly in the young man's hands. We can only imagine the conversations that may have taken place. Ancient historians preserve fragments rather than complete speeches. Some later writers claimed Marcus urged his son to care for the soldiers and remain worthy of the empire. Others admitted they simply did not know his final words. History often leaves us with silence where certainty would be comforting. Perhaps that silence is appropriate. Marcus himself rarely sought dramatic endings. His life had been defined not by grand speeches, but by quiet consistency, by daily discipline, by small acts of patience repeated thousands of times, by striving imperfectly but sincerely toward wisdom. On the 17th day of March in the year AD 180, Marcus Aurelius died. He had ruled for 19 years. Almost immediately, the Roman world entered mourning. The Senate honored him. The army grieved him. Citizens across the empire recognized that one of Rome's most respected rulers had passed away. His body was eventually returned to Rome, where he received the honors traditionally granted to an emperor. His ashes were placed within the mausoleum of Hadrian, alongside other members of the imperial family. His death marked more than the end of a reign. For many historians, it marked the symbolic conclusion of an extraordinary era. The period later known as the Reign of the Five Good Emperors had come to an end. For nearly a century, Rome had benefited from rulers chosen largely because of their competence and character. Now succession returned fully to hereditary rule. Commodus became sole emperor. At first, many hoped he would continue his father's legacy. Those hopes faded quickly. Unlike Marcus, Commodus showed little interest in philosophy or careful administration. He preferred spectacle. He delighted in extravagant public appearances. Most famously, he entered the arena dressed as a gladiator, performing staged combats before enormous crowds. While Marcus had viewed power as a burden demanding humility, Commodus increasingly treated it as a stage upon which to display himself. Ancient historians, though often hostile toward Commodus, describe a reign marked by growing instability, political intrigue, executions, and extravagant spending. Whether every accusation is entirely fair remains debated by modern scholars. Ancient writers frequently exaggerated the faults of unpopular emperors. Yet few historians question that Commodus lacked the steadiness, restraint, and discipline that had defined his father. Looking backward, many Romans viewed Marcus Aurelius almost wistfully. His reign, though filled with hardship, came to represent the last great age of principled imperial leadership. The empire itself would continue for centuries. But something had changed. Something quieter, less visible. The confidence that wise rulers alone could preserve stability had begun to fade. Yet while Marcus's political legacy experienced mixed fortunes, another legacy quietly endured. His notebook. Those private reflections written beside military campfires. Those conversations with himself. Those simple reminders never intended for publication. Somehow, after his death, the manuscript survived. No one knows exactly how. Perhaps trusted friends preserved it. Perhaps members of his household recognized its value. Perhaps chance alone carried it safely across generations. Whatever the explanation, Meditations escaped the fate suffered by countless ancient works now forever lost. Centuries passed. The Roman Empire gradually transformed. The western half eventually collapsed. Languages evolved. Religions changed. Kingdoms rose and disappeared. Libraries burned. Wars reshaped continents. Still, the words of Marcus Aurelius continued traveling through history. Medieval monks copied the manuscript by hand. Renaissance scholars rediscovered it. Enlightenment thinkers admired it. Modern readers found unexpected comfort in its pages. Unlike many philosophical works filled with abstract arguments, Meditations feels intensely personal. Marcus does not lecture. He reminds himself. He struggles. He doubts. He corrects his own thinking. He admits weakness. Perhaps that is why his words remain so powerful. Readers recognize themselves within them. Who has not struggled with anger, with disappointment, with anxiety about the future, with grief after losing someone dear? Marcus experienced all these things. His greatness lies not in avoiding suffering, but in meeting it with extraordinary dignity. One passage gently reminds himself, "Do not waste what remains of your life in worrying about others." Another reflection observes, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." Elsewhere he writes, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." These ideas continue influencing people from remarkably different backgrounds. Political leaders, military officers, psychologists, athletes, teachers, writers, business executives, students. Many discover that Marcus's reflections speak just as clearly to modern challenges as they did to ancient ones. Even contemporary psychology occasionally echoes Stoic principles. The practice of examining one's thoughts, separating events from emotional reactions, accepting what cannot be controlled, focusing attention upon present actions rather than imagined futures. These ideas, developed long before modern science, remain surprisingly relevant. Yet Marcus himself might be puzzled by his modern fame. He repeatedly warned against seeking recognition, against becoming attached to reputation, against imagining that future generations would remember our names forever. Ironically, by refusing to chase immortality, he achieved it. Today, nearly 18 centuries after his death, people across the world continue reading words he never intended anyone else to see. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Marcus Aurelius never set out to become history's most famous philosopher king. He simply tried each day to become a slightly better version of himself than he had been the day before. He understood that perfection was impossible. Improvement, however, remained within reach. One decision, one habit, one thought at a time. As evening settles over the ancient Roman camp one final time, imagine Marcus closing his notebook after another day of reflection. Outside, the wind moves softly through the trees. The soldiers' campfires burn steadily beneath a sky filled with stars. The empire around him remains uncertain. Tomorrow's battles are unknown. The future cannot be predicted. Yet for this quiet moment, the philosopher emperor rests peacefully, knowing he has done what he believed was right. And perhaps that is enough. Not victory without struggle. Not a life without hardship, but a life lived with integrity. A life guided by reason. A life devoted to service. The marble statues of Marcus Aurelius still stand in museums and public squares. His empire, magnificent though it was, eventually faded into history. Its borders disappeared. Its legions marched no more. Its emperors became names in ancient books. But the quiet wisdom of one thoughtful man continues to cross centuries with remarkable ease. His greatest conquest was never a distant province or a victorious battlefield. It was the conquest of his own mind. And that more than 1900 years later remains the legacy of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king whose calm voice still reminds us that while we cannot always choose what happens to us, we can always choose how we meet it. Thank you for joining me on this peaceful journey through the life of Marcus Aurelius. If you enjoyed this quiet history, consider subscribing to Quiet History for more relaxing historical biographies designed to help you unwind, learn, and gently drift off to sleep. Until next time, rest well and good night.